everyone to 2020 Design Trends by UXPin. Today in our short interview, I'm joined by Bree Walter. Bree, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Bree Walter. I currently work at H&R Block. So I'm a lead user experience designer here with H&R Block. We're actually headquartered in Kansas City. And for those who don't know, maybe you've been under a rock for a while, H&R Block is a tax company, but we're trying to expand our horizons to be more of fully embracing the financial world and personal finances. But so what I do is I actually work on the products that serve our tax professionals in the field. So we have a pretty large user experience team, and we're broken into client experience and employee experience. And so I lead up the employee experience, which is specifically the applications that are in our H&R Block offices used by all of our 80,000 tax pros across the country.
Wow, that's impressive. Bree, we're talking today about 2020 design trends. Can you tell me which of the trends that are emerging is your favorite one? What are you really looking forward to?
Sure. So I like to think of design, obviously, as not just visual and UI aspect of design, but being a design or a user experience leader of a team, we have to think about operations and about kind of business and about strategy and testing and all of that. And so I actually, the trend that I think I'm looking forward to the most would be design ethics. And if you're not familiar with design ethics, I actually saw a really amazing speaker this last summer at the UXPA conference that I went to in Arizona, and it was Mike Monteiro. And he actually has a book that is one of the best-selling design books this last year, and it was called Ruined by Design. And it's basically how design, I think it said how design killed something and how we can fix it. Basically, it was that the world has been ruined by design. But I mean, even with that kind of lighthearted title, it was a really serious talk, is that we commonly get put in a position as designers where we have to somehow still consider users' needs while we're being asked to make decisions sometimes that go directly against those needs. And a lot of times it's because of a company considering ROI or conversions and their revenue. And sometimes we do things that are really deceitful and really, really wrong and just not very morally or ethically right because of, say, revenue. And so it was really empowering to see that talk this summer from Mike. And I know that I came back really, really excited because there was a couple instances where after that, there had been some, questionable kind of things that had maybe been brought up that didn't seem like a big deal. And it was neat because I actually had this foundational knowledge now about design ethics and could encourage the rest of my design team and my product managers and some of my business leaders to make better decisions instead of just making maybe the best decision for our revenue, but also, the best decision for our client experience. So I'm really excited to see where that goes in 2020, specifically because I think we're really at the cusp of the awareness of design ethics. So I think everybody is we have surface level knowledge about it, but maybe not necessarily how to apply it in our day-to-day work. So I think that the world of design ethics is just going to kind of erupt, and people are going to be empowered and rally around it. And I'm really excited to see where that's going to go.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. Well, we are actually with UXPin kind of preparing a few accessibility features. So I think that it could help designers using our tool to, embrace the ethical design. But you said that sometimes it's design is here and business is way over with money and ROI and everything, right?
Right.
But I strongly believe that specifically in this year, we're going to maybe try to collaborate more so that designers get a seat at the table as well, not only be caring about the pretty stuff, right? But business and like you said, ethics, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think collaboration is also a key part of what I'm kind of looking forward to in 2020 as well. So I think exactly like what you said, it's not business versus design versus development, and kind of this us and them culture that I feel like we just kind of like, if you have read the articles over the handful of years, it's very, it's a lot of like us versus them, and how do we work better with developers because we feel like we're totally siloed and segmented and we don't get each other. But what you've seen, or what I've seen anyways, like a trend over just the last couple of years, is these amazing articles and kind of empowering speeches and things about how people can really work together as a team and not think of yourself even as like development, designer, product owner, and business leader, IT director. Is how can we truly think of ourselves as a team, and we're all in this together. And so yeah, I think speaking to collaboration, another trend that I'm looking forward to that I've seen just grow immensely at H&R Block, even like over the last year. Whenever I started about like over a year and a half ago, we were trying to introduce more collaborative methods, but I would tell you, like, we have done so many crazy awesome things in the collaboration space around doing like workshops and strategy sessions together. We have people going out into our fields, like developers, IT leaders, product owners, going out into our field and shadowing together as a team and talking about it as a team. And we're doing kind of collaborative road mapping sessions. And so what I think has been really huge that I've seen this last year, and that I think is just going to keep growing across the whole industry, is that teams are getting really far away from this this us and them kind of mentality, and instead embracing each other and doing it in ways that is not positioning each other, against one another. But for example, like collaborative workshops, everybody has a voice and everybody has an equal voice. And every single person on the team, regardless of your role or discipline, has a seat at the table and is able to contribute to the future of that product from the very beginning. And so I know that's something that H&R Block has really grown in this last year, especially on my team. And so I also think that that's going to continue, I think, in 2020 as well for the rest of our industry.
Yeah, I strongly believe that too. But would you say that this kind of approach maybe needs a little bit of switch or like in the mindset of how we think about the teams? Like what are the responsibilities in like the design team as well, and like stuff like that.
Absolutely. And that's another great point as well, is that whenever you get away from this idea of people having very specific titles and roles and responsibilities, and this person takes on this thing and this other person takes on this thing, and you hand it off and it's not really collaboration, it's easy for you to have an us and them mentality whenever you're in that kind of dynamic. But whenever you get to more collaborative methods, I think it's funny because the lines actually start to blur a little around teams. And that's actually what H&R Block is seeing, is that, back in the day, you would have like a product owner would have very specific roles, and UX would have very specific roles. And if you ever kind of dabbled in each other's worlds and try to help each other out, it could either be like stepping on their toes, or, it's just, it was kind of just an interesting relationship there. And so what I am seeing with my teams is actually we're integrating this idea of like feature teams or tiger teams. And if you're not familiar with that concept, basically what that is that instead of trying to tackle this gigantic product as a whole, is we can create kind of these micro teams, or we call them like feature teams. And let's create like a self-sustainable team that can really like design, develop, launch features completely like autonomously. So, and that means that you don't necessarily have specific roles or responsibility. So I actually have some BAs or business analysts, some UI developers, I have product owners who are all helping make UX decisions. And I actually have some of my business analysts are like going into my prototype and updating content, putting in documentation notes for our developers. Like, they're getting really hands-on. Same thing where sometimes we don't always have, say, the product owner might not always have time necessarily whenever we need to have a discussion to make decisions. So I can actually step in and sort of be a UX product owner hybrid, and then make some product decisions as well. And so I think it's neat because with this idea of this feature team or tiger team, it allows you to move so much more quickly, and people become really people become like multi-purpose. You have people who are not just like, you don't have a developer. I have really strong developers who are actually making design decisions. They're helping making product decisions. I have UX and BAs are actually sometimes doing our QA work. And so I think whenever you allow people to not be seen as a very boxed in kind of role and have certain responsibilities is that we can learn to kind of, we really, we kind of help with strengths and weaknesses of each other. And whenever we see that maybe a certain person is swamped, we can step in and help them. And so, yeah, I think it goes back to collaboration, is that whenever you start to really work together as one kind of like autonomous ecosystem and not these separate siloed roles and kind of different people on the team, is that people can become supplements or not supplements, but I guess like extensions of you. Like I have many extensions of UX on my team, and you trust them because you've gone through all these collaborative workshops together that you know they're going to be making good decisions, and you can give up some of your ownership because you know that you're all in it together as a team. And so nobody's like out to get one another. Everybody understands what the common goal is that we're working towards because we've done like vision mapping in our workshops. So I think sorry to ramble. I just get super empowered or super excited, I guess, about speaking specifically about Tiger teams. Is that it's just such a neat concept that I think is really, it's still kind of new to the industry. But I know in the tech space, like here at H&R Block and in some of our in our tech industry, it's huge and it's growing like wildfire because it allows you to get releases out so much quicker and so much more effectively.
Yeah, and also I think building a collaborative environment in your workplace is helping to learn from each other, right? Like, and this is also like a trend that I think will be very, I think this will grow in 2020 of like learning from each other, like in small teams, smaller teams, but also in the communities, right? So do you think like where is that coming from, or where is that going to in your opinion?
I think it's coming from the fact that I guess so. I'll speak to another point as well that I think kind of brings this to the forefront, is that I think it was easy for us to kind of prior to this sort of I guess epiphany that we've had about how we can act kind of more synonymously and more integrated, is that I think we were always sort of just trying to like tack on, like we were trying to take on certain things here and there, and we weren't really kind of understanding things holistically and how we all kind of work together and how we can like use agile methodologies and these more collaborative workshops and methodologies to kind of really create this this one kind of team working together. And so I think what some people point out, this idea around like a feature team, does that just create, I guess, more disparate nature because it's smaller kind of teams working in their own little areas. But I think the thing is that it actually it's really neat, because what I've seen on my teams is that you may have certain feature teams that are building features that are part of this bigger product. But everybody is so aware, because I think you are in a smaller kind of group, everybody is so aware of how to stay integrated and aligned, and what the work that they're doing, like how that impacts other teams. And so where I think I see this going is that for example, like we have had so many more kind of alignment sessions and just sessions around how can we be better integrated. Like this team is developing a certain feature, like let's utilize that. This team is kind of testing out this new technology. Can we learn anything from that? And then also we're actually in the process of creating our company-wide design system right now. So we just went through a really long process to get that all designed, do user testing on it, and now we are creating it in UXPin. And so our designers and developers are using that and referring to that. And so that's actually been something that I think whenever you go to this feature team model, design systems are like so helpful, because then you don't have to, that kind of actually alleviates this concern about inconsistencies and discrepancies and how can teams stay aligned on design standards and paradigms, is that whenever you have a really solid design system that's kind of like your foundational level, all of the feature teams can just run really quickly because we all know like what our common design goal is. And so does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And I think, well, with the design systems, when you stop doing the mundane like work of, you know, like repeating everything over and over again, you can be like, I don't know, like jump on another level of creativity and
Absolutely.
usability and everything, right?
Absolutely. You can finally focus on like strategy
Yeah.
and not just the pixel pushing. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think that's something that my team has loved. And I know that my development team, we're utilizing a lot of crazy new technology, um, uh, like an immense amount of new technology. And so I know that that's something that like we can't get hung up on these small little design paper cuts, because we have really big things that we're having to work on and consider. And it's not just like, how does this one button display and how can we build out the interaction just right, say on these 7 different prototypes, and then instead we're using our design system. It's seamless, it's nice, and we get that extra time back to instead talk about, well, how are we integrating this one application with all of our applications, you know, elsewhere in the team, and how are we getting everything on one platform, all this kind of stuff that's like our bigger picture kind of technology goals right now. So yeah, I think it's exactly what you said, is that it just empowers you to kind of think more strategically.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bree, for your thoughts and for your inputs. It was really insightful, and I love to hear how you work, how your mind is, you know, like working with your teams and everything. It was really inspirational. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love that UXPin is doing this as always. I'm always super impressed by everything that you guys do to get knowledge out to these design communities. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.